I 28F had a conversation about periods with my husband 29 and now I'm considering divorce. Am I taking this too far? For context, I have been with my husband since I was 18, have known him since I was 12. We have 3 children together 8F, 7F, 5 meters, and my husband was also raised by women as his dad was not in the picture. I came across a video today about young teenage girls being scared to talk to their dads about their periods and period-related issues, which I feel a lot of women have dealt with. As I was reading the comments on this video, one said, "If my sons are not comfortable buying periods products, they are too young to be in a relationship." I immediately told my husband I agree with this, and if men are going to fool around with women, they should not find this gross, taboo, weird, to which he replied, "I disagree. There is no reason why we should have to know that. Your period does not affect men at all. That is your business to take care of. What does a relationship have to do with that at all?" I attempted to say that it does affect men, as well as women, and we should all have common knowledge on the human body and how to provide hygiene, regardless of the situation, but before I could finish he got pissed, screaming that I am a sexist ***ch who only cares about what women want, that men should just learn about that stuff from their partner when they get curious and ask. And it is solely up to a mother to decide to discuss this with their children. It is unnecessary to go into detail with boys. And lastly, this was just something that happens, and once it does we will deal with it when it actually happens to our daughters. I thought it would stop there, but no. He continues to yell about nonsense like, "Did you know Roe v. Wade was overturned because of dumped women? That it bullshit, that I support child support, and that I need to speak to my people if I want to change this whole thing." Blindsided me. This is the same man who convinced me to try Marital for the first time, confidently buys period products from me, and doesn't find any form of the human bodily functions taboo. I won't lie and call myself innocent, as I went off the handle and called his opinion stupid and told him why I lost respect for him in not really speaking to him, and went to bed alone, and now genuinely considering divorce because this is just wild to me. And this is not the ideals I want instilled into my children, especially my son. Am I taking this too far? How should I approach this further? This really isn't sitting with me well. Any advice is welcome. Stories number 2. A lot of you were right. Something went on between my F32 husband M32 and my sister F26. What do Ito? He wasn't going to do this, but I have had, and am still getting lots of comments and messages for an update, so here we are. I've since spoken to my sister. Husband came home that night as well. He packed a bag with more stuff and sat down with me and told me what happened. We have rentals and he was staying in one that's currently empty. A lot of you were right. My sister straight up assaulted him. I'll try and keep this short, but I'll add some extra details I missed on my first post to clear things up. This all happened on Sunday. She has been going through a lot the past month, so this has been a regular thing. And the past few weeks things were getting worse with her partner, so lots of venting. She said several times that night she didn't want to go back home, and told us that before she left she also told her partner not to try and contact her because she was going out to get a break from him. My husband smokes a ton of cannabis and this year started buying the oil, I think it is, and making his own caping cartridges, a legal country, that's why he makes his own. He mixes various strengths for during the day and much stronger ones for the afternoon. The whole night he was on the strong one and passed it around. We were all defiantly feeling it, so I stopped and they continued well into the night. I said, in getting ready to call it a night, and everyone agreed. I got up to see to the dogs. We have a litter of puppies that we've set up space for in the garage. I was gone maybe 5 minutes. Came back out to my husband on his own. Said my sister was in a bad way with the oil, so she went to bed. That's when we went to bed. He got up in the morning and left. My husband said this was when it happened. Out of nowhere she grabbed the waist of his trousers, yanked them down and went to town. Went as far as to actually grab his hands as if to stop him going anywhere. It lasted maybe 5 seconds before he managed to get up. He asked her WTF she was doing. She just said sorry and went to bed. I knew going into this I was probably going to get lied to, but fortunately we have security cameras all around the house and the whole ordeal was on camera. He pulled it up on the iPad and showed me. I didn't actually want to see the act, but he insisted. He's terrified that even with proof he's still going to be labeled as if he pursued this. He thinks that I'm going to leave him regardless and that he deserves it. He's scared he's lost his family and everything we have. My sister's partner left his last relationship due to infidelity. And my husband is ill over the fact that he feels responsible for it happening again. My husband is okay but feels totally guilty in all of this and doesn't want the fallout to happen at all. He wishes everyone could just forget it ever happened and go on like normal, and I've told him there's no way that's going to happen. I finally got to talk to my sister. She hadn't blocked me, just ignored my calls and texts. We text her through my husband's phone, and while doing that I noticed she had actually texted him a few times since this happened. Literally just a chain off. I'm so sorry I fucked up. I'm so sorry, oh no what happened? Still nothing to me. Anyway, she called, we put her on speaker and I asked her what happened. Thinking she was going to lie, but she ended up saying the same thing my husband did. She couldn't give me a reason as to why. She cried the entire phone call. Woe is me. We all hate her now etc. But yeah. No reason. She doesn't know why she done it. It was the biggest mistake of her life. Apparently she called in sick for work and has just spent the days driving around aimlessly, hoping a freak accident would take her out. I lost it, went completely apeshit on her. My husband kept trying to defuse it, which just got me more annoyed. We had it out because I felt like he was defending her. His argument is that she is obviously not in a great place and he doesn't want anyone in the position that they feel like they need to hurt themselves or worse. This did not calm me down, and I'm not proud of it, but I did go on to send her several texts telling her exactly what I thought of her. We also told her to speak to her partner because we planned to tomorrow, and it would be much better coming from her than from us. My husband really does not want to have that conversation with him. So that's pretty much where we're at. An utter shit show. Me and my husband will get through it together. I've made sure he knows I'm on his side. We'll suggest therapy for him, but ultimately, sis chose. I don't see my sister's partner sticking around. Our kids are very close and see each other a lot, and not really sure what will happen there. But it's not fair on the kids losing out on that relationship. We have a lot to work out. Thank you for all your comments. A lot of you actually said this is what it sounded like happened, so I was sure to be as understanding as I could be. Wish us luck. Edit. To expand a bit on the cameras. Yes, in the back of my head I know the cameras are there, but they were there before we moved in and I really don't think about them. They're only outside the house. I have no idea how to actually check recorded footage. Husband has always dealt with them, and I had no idea when or where this actually happened. I have told him he has every right to press charges, but is adamant he does not want the police or anything involved. Stories number 3. I 28M have chased my fiance 27F all my life. Became a doctor only because she wanted to marry a doctor. Found her cheating. What am I supposed to do? Chased my fiance all my life. Tried hard to be successful because she wanted a doctor. She is still cheating. I know if people are going to see this they're going to call me a stalker or a simp or whatnot. But it is what it is. I am 28, have loved my fiancé av 27 since the day, have known what love is. We met when I was 15 and she was 14. She was beautiful, like someone you'll see once in a mall and remember her even after 10 years. I'm sure everyone has at least seen one scene, such a girl. She was also sweet and fun. She had many issues at her home which affected a lot of her life choices, but you'll never see her in a bad mood. But she was materialistic, and she never denied that. She always wanted good things and she accepted it. I liked her for it because she wasn't pretentious or fake. When I first interacted with her she made it clear she will only marry a doctor. She also had good reasons and a story for it, and I do acknowledge that. I accepted it. See, I wasn't very good at studies, but not an absolute dumbass either. So I gave it my everything. We live in India, so if you are a middle-class kid you have to pass a crazy hard competitive exam to get into a good government-run medical school, because frankly, he didn't have enough money to get into a private one. I had to try 2 years after graduating high school to finally get into a medical school, all while I was stuck at home trying to study, and she was doing a degree in arts after high school. When I was preparing for the entrance she was just a friend, not too friendly but not too distant either. She made it clear it was nothing more than friendship though. I also heard about her dating other people, but I didn't care because in my mind I always thought of marrying her eventually. I know this sounds creepy, but it is how my mind worked. So when Ashley got into medical school, she changed. She got more friendly to me. She broke up with her boyfriend, and then we started dating after a while. Medical school is long, so when I was in school she had already graduated and was teaching in a secondary school, which was not very stable or high-paying. But she stuck with me all through the medical school. After I graduated, I joined a hospital. Pretty good pay. Although I had long shifts, the pay was pretty good. During this period, she told her parents about me. Her parents were pretty happy too, because in India everyone wants a doctor son-in-law. We have been engaged for a year now. We would have married already, but I'm doing post-graduation in dermatology, which is how I found about her cheating actually. And it is quite hectic to even attend someone else's marriage, let alone be mine. 2 weeks ago I saw my fiance had red spots on her body, mostly on her back. I checked everything and I diagnosed it's possibly due to bed bug bites. She panicked, but I just told her there are no issues because we'll just clean our houses and it won't happen again. So we checked both our places. She has rented a house near to her school, and I have a hostel room in the hospital premises, which the hospital provides to PG trains, although I mostly live at her place. We didn't find anything much. So I must have diagnosed wrong, and I told her we should get her blood tested. She was very hesitant because she is very afraid of needles, but I said, it's necessary. So I told her to come to the hospital the day after when she gets free from her school. The next day she came to the hospital from her school with a male colleague. I had met him earlier, so I was cordial to him. We got her blood sample to pathology lab, and I started to talk with this colleague of her. I asked him where does he live, and he told me where. That just rang a huge fucking bell in my head. Because you see, in OPD we see hundreds of patients in a day of the surrounding areas. We see many people from the same area having papular urticaria, which is a fancy way of saying insect bites. The bites can be of any insects or even bed bugs, but that particular area has a swamp area, which gets dried out in summers, and the whole area gets papular urticaria symptoms. It's a common regular thing, and everyone in our dermatology department knows it. So I just blurted out, do you had any red swellings on your body or anything? He said yeah a little. Just after he said it he went back on his words and said nothing much though, just like mosquitoes and all. But it had already registered in my mind. After he left I took my fiancée back home. But I had this feeling that didn't go. The next day I saw her reports and she had no issues. So I just called her and told her I found no issues. I just took insect bite meds for her and gave her. In 2-3 days she was alright. But I couldn't get this feeling out of me. So one night I checked her phone when she slept. I went through her phone. I had never done it all my life. I found nothing, but I couldn't get through this nagging feeling. The next day I took a break from my shift and went near her school and followed her when she left. She went straight to home. When I saw this I just scolded myself for being such an asshole and being so suspicious. But for the next 3 days I kept doing the same. On the third day I saw her leave with that colleague again. I saw them go to his house. Here my world shattered. I have loved her all my life. I changed my life for her. She wanted to marry a doctor, so I became a doctor. Didn't she say she will be with someone who is more successful than her? Then what the hell was she doing with this bum? I have nothing against teachers, but he literally earns in for months what I can earn in one. Why the hell did I work this hard? Why the hell did love her so much? Since that day I have said nothing to her. Because I don't know what to do. I have built my whole life around her. I just keep saying to myself what I didn't have, that she had to go someone else. I know I'm not super handsome, but I'm not that bad looking either. She is way out of my league, I know, but I have worked all my life so that I could be able to be someone she can remain with. If this is what she wants, why has she stayed with me all these years? You know I have had no issues with her ever. She has been the perfect girlfriend. She cares for me, she supports me. I have literally slept on her laps for hours while she sat there stroking my hair. So what is this now? Where did this go wrong that she has to go to someone else? What were the last 8 years? I know this is getting quite long, but I have nowhere to go to. I don't have many close friends because she was my everything, because my life revolves around her. I can't tell this to my family because I don't want anyone else to find out. What do? I know it might be that no one sees this, but what am I supposed to do? Update. I'm updating this to address to all the people who have commented or PM'd me. People who have given genuine advice, I thank you. I will try to keep in mind everything you have said. I have also offended people, I disrespecting teachers. I'm sorry for that. I was feeling very low and the negativity just came out. I didn't think a man feeling low or having low self-esteem and saying that honestly here will bring so much negative emotions in people. Some people have been outright hostile and abusive. I do understand that people don't like a man being weak. I'll try to strengthen that about me. Yes, I do accept I'm coming off as naive, obsessed and whatnot. Emotional attachment of 13 years does not go in a single day. If it does for you, then maybe I'm not as strong as you. But all this negativity has at least numbed me. I do think this will help me to confront her and face up my life. I didn't think I was emotionally strong enough to do that, so I guess it has helped me a little. Also, people who have texted me saying this seems fake and everything. I wish that was true. I wouldn't be in such condition right now. If it comes off as too flowery or seems like written by AI, then I have to say I'm sorry, I can't write in bad English purposefully. Our Indian education system has crammed into us the power to write incorrect English with slaps, sticks, sandals and whatnot. If there are grammatical mistakes and anything else, I will accept that. And no, I'm not abusive. I have never been. I come off as a stalker, following her and everything. I know, I miss some of my medical duties for that, which I never thought I will. So I think I can't go any lower than that. Stories number 4. I'm 28F. My partner 35 meters is doing cocaine 5 days postpartum. Would this constitute separation? We are home on day 5 with our beautiful baby and my partner 35 meters is doing cocaine at home. I am 28F. I can't help but resent him. What if something is to go wrong and we need to drive to the hospital? What if I need to sleep for a few hours and have him watch the baby? Regardless of his experience with drugs and feeling in control and safe, I'm sure this could be dangerous. I'm already quite anxious having a little newborn. I think he must be addicted to be thinking of doing this so early after birth, and I worrying he doesn't love the baby. I am starting to question everything. I am worried to leave the baby in his care in the future if this is his priority. Because I am confused about my emotions. Is this normal to feel this upset? Should I be thinking of leaving him? Update. The cocaine use started during pregnancy, not before. I was persuaded into thinking this was a last freedom before baby situation, but it is clearly not. Stories number 5. Husband 35 meters thinks him to 6F too big. What should he do? I've always been really skinny and wanted to get fitter and more muscular. 130 pounds, 57. I've been going to the gym consistently with my husband and we both gained around 20 pounds of mass, mostly muscle. The other night my husband told me he prefers me back when I was skinnier at 130 pounds. However, I'm pissed because I've been training really hard and feel like he just dead on my gym gains. He keeps saying I'm too big. I mostly just work out legs and glutes. I don't have giant arms of anything, lol. Am I right to feel like he's an asshole? I feel really healthy and strong and really am loving the extra weight I put on. And plus, as a nurse, it helps me with lifting patients and not feeling like I'm dying at the end of the workday. Stories number 6. My 30M mom 59F hates my wife 30F. Is going no contact the only option? Long story, so I'll summarize. My wife and I have married for 8 years and have been together for nearly 10. At the start of our relationship, my wife and my mom got along great. My mom even told me that she thinks I found the one. Things started to change after we got engaged. My wife chose not to take my mom wedding dress shopping and took her grandmother, her mother and her 2 maids of honor. My mom also said the bridal showers made her and my sister feel very uncomfortable because my wife comes from money and my family was lower middle class. Even more background, my mom grew up dirt poor and suffered a lot of abuse growing up, which I think gave her a lot of undiagnosed mental health issues. My mom told me all of this and I was able to communicate this to my wife. My wife did her best to make her and my family feel included in the wedding. And I think overall it went very well and I thought things were great. For years, things stood like that, just fine. My wife felt she had to walk on some eggshells not to offend my mom, but she was capable and willing to do this. However, one time during a family trip, my mom broke down and told me she was having a hard time letting go of me. and how we used to be best friends and now she doesn't know me. This was 5 years into my marriage and I told her I thought it was strange how it was just now coming up. But alas, things changed for the worse when my wife got pregnant with our child M2. Once we announced that she was pregnant, my mom made it known that she was going to buy a pack of diapers every time my dad got paid. My mom has always been a stay-at-home mom. A few months into the pregnancy, my wife let it slip that her mom my mill was planning on a big diaper drop. Once my mom heard this, she broke down again about how her gifts are never enough and that she feels like my wife. And I feel that she's not going to be good enough for our future child. Also, a few months after, at lunch, we got on the topic of the birthing room. I told my mom, dad and my wife that I was comfortable with whatever my wife wanted. My wife said she wanted me, her mom, and her cousin in the room. My mom immediately busted out into tears about how she wasn't good enough to be in the room for her first grandchild. My wife explained that she would just be more comfortable with her mom, me and her cousin, and my mom responded that when she birthed me her my grandmother was there in the room and she was uncomfortable but knew it was a special time for my grandmother. My wife eventually apologized and they reconciled to let bygones be bygones. This conversation turned out to be moot anyways because with COVID restrictions at the time, I was the only person allowed in. Fast forward to the night before my son's first birthday, we're eating dinner and my wife is showing my mom that she always squishes his blueberries before feeding them to my son. My mom yells, "Do you guys think I'm stupid? I've raised children before this blew up into a huge fight." Once again about my mom feeling that she's never going to be good enough to be around my son and how me and my wife make everyone feel uncomfortable with our strict parenting techniques. She also said a lot of things about my wife personally, even calling her a snobby bitch at some point and pretty much ruined my son's first birthday. A few months later, my mom apologized for saying all of those things before my son's birthday but didn't exactly apologize for what she said. My wife did not forgive her, rightfully so, but said she could come around still, because my wife did not want to ask me to cut my mom out our lives. Fast forward once again to a few weeks ago, my mill comes in to watch my son when I was traveling for work. Because my wife, who's a nurse and works 12-hour shifts, cannot pick my son up from daycare. My mom gets her feelings hurt and says, "I just never feel like I'm good enough." This one was on me because I had previously told my mom she could watch my son when I went on this trip. I had to travel again a few weeks later and we told her she could watch my son then. She came in on a Friday and was supposed to stay a week. Things were great for the first few days, but then the day before I'm supposed to leave for work, we have another incident. My wife was planning on making lunch, but my mom said she's going to go get a tea from a fast food chain. I asked my mom to just get me a snack so I can still eat my wife's lunch. And my mom comes home with my snack, my drink, and a full combo for herself. For context, my mom does have a medical issue where she needs to eat, or she has issues. My mom explained that she cannot wait that long to eat between meals, but my wife felt like she did not want to eat her cooking and was pretty passive-aggressive the rest of the day. Eventually, my mom catches on that my wife is upset and calls her out for not talking to her. This starts a big fight, and my mom goes and stays in a hotel, but still watches my son while I'm gone. I come back early from my work trip to minimize the time that my wife and my mom have to be alone. My mom calls me a few days later and tells me to not talk to her if my wife is around. She also says her biggest regret is that my friend introduced me and my wife, and she wishes that I picked a wife that could get along better with the family. She says for my sake, because she knows my wife gives me hell, she can exit the picture, and my wife can have what she always wanted me to herself and my mom out of the picture. My wife has made some mistakes. I would say 80% of the issues come from my mom. I have told both my wife and my mom that I support my wife in this. But obviously this is still tough on me to not have a relationship with my mother. What should I do? Stories number 7. I F33 think my husband M36 is cheating on me with my brother M30. How do I bring this up or cope? From August 2023 to now, I've noticed what I suspect is my husband cheating on me with my brother. My brother met my husband around that time when we helped him move into his first house. My husband and I got eloped because of my parents disapproving of him financial reasons. I make more and they didn't see my husband fit to marry me since I'm the provider. We've been together for 10 years, married for 6. My brother, to my knowledge, is straight. We were never too close because our interests just never aligned. I've noticed the following major things, but at the time thought nothing of it because they're both men and I just never suspected it. I never thought my husband would cheat on me, period, let alone with my brother. 1. My husband doesn't let me look at the messages between him and my brother. He asks me to text people, using his phone for him all the time, but if my brother is texting, he's quick to take his phone and do it himself. 2. My brother is always coming over when I'm not home. I never minded at first because he and my husband are very close, but now I'm wondering if there's a reason why. The minute I come home, my brother suddenly already packing up to leave. I've had one-on-one talk in person with my brother for maybe 30 minutes within the past month. 3. Recently, March 2024, now my husband has been claiming overtime. When I asked about the overtime money, he got defensive and called me controlling for asking and told me to stay out of his finances. 4. My husband never asks me about my day anymore. He's glued to his phone, and when I ask, he's texting my brother. 5. We don't have sex anymore. We haven't for 2 months now, and it's driving me up a wall. Whenever I try to initiate or do something sexy, he turns me down and avoids me. He never used to do this before. 6. They go to the gym together, and when my husband comes home, he talks about my brother's figure and form for a good 10 minutes to me while he showers. I at first thought that he was just proud of my brother. He's very muscular and spends lots of time in the gym now due to my husband. Those key points had been pushing me to think that he's cheating. For the longest, I was at most just annoyed with my husband. I've had close female friends and I used to not be able to prioritize my time, so I thought it was just that. Things have really been escalating this past month, and I don't think my husband is being faithful anymore. This Saturday, my husband and I were supposed to go out on a date to rekindle my idea. I pushed for it, but I don't think I want to go anymore. He's been moody ever since I brought it up in the first place. Am I overthinking this? I thought if my brother were a woman, then I'd probably be going ballistic. When I think about it that way, everything seems to fall into place. But what if I'm wrong? I don't want to blow something up if it's nothing. My husband has no gay history, and neither does my brother, to the best of my knowledge. My husband has always been the super macho gym rat type, and my brother is, I guess, just average. Is this normal? How do I bring this up to my husband? Should I just put this all behind me and deal with it? We've been together for a decade, and I really love him. I don't want to throw everything away because I'm being insecure. Stories number 8. Am I 31F justified in ending my marriage to 35 meters? I've been with my husband since I was 18 and married at 23. I have changed a lot since then. I was struggling with my sense of self and mental health when we married, and I thought this is just what is meant to be. It was until we had our baby 3F and I sorted myself out mentally that I realized I'm deeply unhappy. My husband is IMO very selfish. He works at a dead-end job with no progression, but he loves it. He is out of the house 70+ hours a week, which means he is seldom at home to help. In the mornings or evenings or weekends as he works shifts. When he is at home, he is on his phone talking to people at work. He will help out with our daughter for a max hour at a home, and most of that is spent in front of a screen. Every now and then he will take our daughter to childcare if he is at home in the morning, which means I can go to the gym, but this has happened twice in the last month. I do 95% of everything: childcare, cooking, cleaning, finances. He will ask what needs doing but very rarely takes or shows initiative. If he has a day off in the week, he might hoover the floors, but he won't tidy and will spend most of the day in front of the TV. I also work 4 days a week and am sick of everything being on my shoulders. I'm also the breadwinner. He has no relationship with any of my friends. We travel to see one another regularly and I will always go without him. Might take our daughter, he makes no effort to engage with them. He is the same with my family and I hate bringing him to family events. We recently went on holiday with my family and I wondered if he would do more as he didn't have work as an excuse. He didn't. He spent most of the time on his phone being rude, grumpy and ungrateful. I hated it. He refuses to change his job to be at home more often as he thinks he should be happy at work. I agree about him being happy, but it leaves me miserable at home. When I bring it up, he says things like, "Oh well, and you'll get over it." He can also get extremely angry if I tell him I'm unhappy and will throw things and call me names. Sometimes, he is so lovely. Right now, he knows something is wrong and is being so nice, which leaves me confused as I know R has it in him. However, I know it's not right and I want out. But I know he will be awful and gaslight me. I guess I'm just looking for validation that I'm doing the right thing. What do you think? Stories number 9. My 23F boyfriend to 2M is upset that I do not like his emotionally incestuous, racist and abusive mother. When do I give up on the relationship? I've been dating him for 2 years now, and in every aspect he's been a wonderful boyfriend. We get along really well, we support each other and we are loving. Except when it comes to his mom. The first time I met his mother was when I was invited over for dinner, and that was enough to see the situation as a red flag. All throughout dinner, she never included me in any conversation except to ask me a question about my work. I stumbled on my grammar. English is not my native language, and she repeated what I said to the entire table, laughing and making fun of me with continued jokes I did not understand. She was openly racist, criticizing people of my race for having boring legs and being incapable. She corrected me for my language and was passive-aggressive about my clothing, that it was too modest. My boyfriend, though witnessing all this, did not mention anything at all afterwards. This happened a few more times. I couldn't say anything negative about her, because he was so attached to her. A common thing he would do is tell me something racist or offensive she said about me, and laugh about it. A few days later he'd invite me to a family outing, saying that I'd be rude to decline so I should open up my schedule to join. Whenever I hung out with him, she got jealous and screamed at him to come home. After which she'd insult me and tell him that we'd break up soon anyway. When I call my boyfriend at night to sleep, she comes in his room without knocking and asks him what I'm saying. The last time I hung out with them and their family, my boyfriend was walking with his mom most of the time with his arm on her shoulder, and I trailed behind with no one to talk to. It was like he felt guilty to be seen paying attention to me in front of her. I was again ignored and excluded the rest of the day through conversations only centered on inside jokes. At the end of the day, he told me that she had said I bring everyone's energy down. The same night, he wanted reassurance that that experience was slightly better than the ones before. It's just been like I'm constantly gaslighted. It got to the final straw when he was upset that I felt hesitant in seeing his mother for Christmas. I got mad, told him my perspective on everything. He said he wasn't able to see the big deal until then, because even if I had been insulted, it wasn't to the level that it was traumatizing. He said that I just couldn't take his family because of how good my family is. After a few more hours of getting upset, he finally started to see how hurtful he was being. He apologized and has been more understanding. A while has passed and he has started to see how her behavior is abusive and harmful to those around, including me. But the other day an instance of her abusing her ex-husband came up in a conversation, and I naturally expressed negative feelings towards her. He got upset by this and started to defend her, saying that she is not a bad person and nothing is her fault, and that it makes him uncomfortable that I seem to dislike her. This has got me thinking, will his absolute loyalty towards his mom ever end? When do I give up and accept that he will always be this way when it comes to his mother? I just can't see myself staying long term if it means he will never defend me against his mother's behavior. We are planning to move out in a couple of years, so I want to hope it will get better then, but I don't know if I can take it that long. Stories number 10. My GF28F and I 30 meters haven't spoken in 5 days after she walked out hours before my 30th birthday party that I didn't even want. Is this relationship worth salvaging? I 30 meters explicitly expressed to my GF28F and family that I didn't want a birthday party, because I didn't want to have to do everything like I did for my 29th. For that reason my sister suggested we have a party at her house so I wouldn't have to do anything, to which I agreed. But we ended up having to bin that idea because it had been raining for a few weeks and her backyard is 90% grass. So I said whatever, we won't do anything. Then my GF, who I'll refer to as Alice, suggested we have it at ours, and that she do everything and I won't do anything, so I agree. My party was last Saturday. I had the whole week leading up to it off of work, cause why not? So I had ample time to kinda tidy up and slowly get shit ready because Alice still had to work WFH. I went grocery shopping to get everything we need, went to the hardware store 2 or 3 times to get some floodlights, extension leads and globes for an existing light so we had decent lighting in our backyard. I cleaned the garage and rearranged it a bit because you walk through it to get to the backyard. I mowed the front yard, which is quite large. Alice's dog shits in the backyard, so I refuse to mow it unless she picks up his poo, which she neglects to do. So the grass gets really long, so I whip or snip it first so it's easier for her to mow it. I blew all the grass and cleaned the concrete with the hose. Alice's way of doing everything was to message my sister, to message my family and guests. Alice bought the cake, which was a 45-minute to an hour drive one way to pick up, and she doesn't drive. So I asked my mom to pick up the cake cause she lived the closest. My sister spoke with everyone with what food to bring, etc., so I didn't have to do any cooking. The week leading up, I had to ask Alice, are people gonna need to use the BBQ because it's not clean? I had to ask her about the gas bottle for the BBQ and heater. I had to ask her about the fold-out tables cause we don't have any. So all these things I've had to ask her about because she hadn't thought about any of it. Now the day of, everything is pretty much done. Alice still hasn't mowed the lawn or cleaned the BBQ like she said she would. But the party doesn't start till 6 p.m. so we have the morning, afternoon to get everything sorted. I get up just after 11 a.m. She slowly follows. She has a smoke and says she's going back to bed. I then cleaned the toilets, then just chilled out for a bit cause there wasn't much left to do but her chores and a mop. Vacuum. I get out of the shower about 2 p.m. and she's not up yet, so I go in and wake her up and ask if she's getting up. She asks, what time is it? I tell her and she says, oh fuck, as if there's urgency, then proceeds to lay there another 5 minutes. I'm folding some laundry as she gets up and I ask her, are you gonna do anything? Cause so far I've done everything. I've even had to wake you up. Her response is I had an alarm set. So her intention was to get up even later. An argument then ensues. I forget exactly what was said, but I'm just explaining why I have the shits. And that I've had to ask her about everything because she hadn't thought about it. She starts crying saying, I don't appreciate anything she does because we have an argument every 2 months when she decides to mop, vacuum, and clean the bathrooms. She gets the shits with me when I don't help cause I do about 80% of the chores every day. Week. She tells me she's going to her mom's, to which I reply with, are you serious? She then kinda just gives me the yep response as I'm arguing with her while she's packing her shit. She leaves with her dog at about 2:30 and comes back around 8ish. While my family and I are eating and kinda just acts like nothing happened. She had to work and I didn't, so I wasn't even mad about doing X, Y, and Z until she got mad at me for not appreciating anything she does. When my sister organized everything and I asked her about multiple things she hadn't thought of, and then when her intention was to sleep in past 2 p.m. We haven't spoken since that night. I'm waiting for her to come to me because she has literally not once initiated any kind of reconciliation. After any argument, whether she's wrong or not, in the nearly 4 years we've been together. Stories number 11. My M24 girlfriend, after 3 cheated on me during her trip in France. What I can do to make this pain go away. My now ex-girlfriend of 5 years went to France this month for a program that she recently joined. I helped her pay for the trip, got her attachments that she wanted for her camera, and even a camera bag that doubles as a backpack. Overall, I nearly spent $900 for her to go to France because I thought it was a great opportunity for her. Fast forward to when she came back. She was very distant and it felt like she was someone else, and I caught on to that. A couple days later, she and I talked and eventually I was able to pry it out of her that she cheated on me with a guy that she met in France. This guy is also from the US and part of the same program as her. Yesterday morning, when I found out at her place of work, I immediately fell out of love for her. I couldn't see her as the same person anymore, and thinking about the intimate things she did with another man made me sick to my stomach. I went back home, called my brother, and he and I moved everything that I owned out of the house. After, I went back to talk to her one last time to let her know that she won't see me again and that all of my stuff is gone. Her last words to me were, I love you, and I didn't reciprocate. It just seems disgusting that she can say that after what she did. This morning, I texted her one last time, feeling disgusted, asking her to pretty much reimburse me for the things that I gave her for France. I wasn't demanding it, I was just asking for it, and that's up to her if she wants to. That's all. I didn't want her to pay me back for all the gifts that I ever gave her in the past 5 years. I just felt like I gave her $900 worth of stuff just so she can cheat on me with another man in a different country. I've blocked her on every platform that I can think of. I just feel so lost now. Edit 1. Since I got a few questions about how she would give me my money back after I blocked her on everything. She can still send me money through Zelle. In fact, she has already sent back a small amount back, only $60. However, I don't completely expect her to give it all back. Stories number 12. I 20F have not finished during sex with my boyfriend to 1M. He says this is not normal and it concerns him. Is there something wrong with me? My boyfriend and I were watching an episode of Sex and the City when Miranda is sleeping with a man who she is faking orgasms with. After the episode is over, my boyfriend got really weird. I finally got out of him that topic of the episode really upset him. He said that it's not normal that I haven't orgasmed yet during sex. We've been together for over 6 months and he says that it should have happened by now. I respond by saying, I don't think it's that common for girls to have orgasms during sex. And even some of my girlfriends have been in relationships for years haven't done it, or it's only happened once or twice. I don't want to just fake it, because that weirds me out. Plus, the whole point of the episode was talking about how once you start faking it, you have to fake it every time again, and he'll never know when you're actually doing it. I told him I think it would only be possible for me if we use the vibrator during sex, which she kind of made fun of me before and got weird about. He alluded to the fact that he thinks that there's something wrong with me. I am completely comfortable during sex with him, so I don't think that's the issue. I'm honestly not sure what is. Stories number 13. How do I 28 meters and an 8-year relationship with my GF to 8F? I 28 and am not sure how to break off from my 28F long-term GF. We have been dating since early years of college. There was some long distance sprinkled in there for a few years. It was shaky a few times during the long-distance years. We've done couples therapy, I've done therapy, and she's done therapy. We now are in the same city, not in the same place yet. Things are bad at times, but overall it's okay. Not great in my eyes though, and I think she sees it differently. My problem is there will never be something so unforgivable like cheating, which will give me a way out. She is loyal, gorgeous, and sweeter to her friends than to me. I am super close with her family and she is close with mine. We are friends with the same people. Call me crazy, but I just don't see myself happy long term. From public perception, people think I'm an idiot for leaving this girl, but for years I've gone back and forth on if I can spend my life with this person. We are about to move in together, but I'm extremely hesitant and don't want to commit to that, because it feels like it'll go down a road where I can't escape. I fear if we move in it will lead to inevitable marriage just because no egregious errors will happen leading me to end it for good. I don't see this relationship lasting forever, ultimately leading to divorce, as shitty as that is to say. I feel like I invested so much time and that's why I'm holding on, but I am simply unhappy and numb. Let me be clear, it's not like utterly miserable. There are plenty of good times, but my gut just tells me I can't do this. I don't think we are compatible mentally or emotionally anymore. She feels everything is good enough for engagement. My issue is we fight all the damn time. It's over dumb shit or stupid things and we both suck at communication. Probably more so on my part. I feel like she focuses more on the small disagreements than just being happy with the person she's known for like 8 years. I don't feel appreciated anymore. I feel more like a comfort and something expected rather than a desire. Obviously, we are at that age to take those next steps, but I just can't commit to it. The sexual side of our relationship is fully dead and has been an issue for several years. I get people grow older and aren't horned up college kids, but it's always me initiating, mostly getting rejected. I can honestly say I don't know any time she's initiated besides when I was ready to walk away. Sex has been fully weaponized in this relationship. It's sadly gotten to the point I don't pursue it much because she doesn't give anything when we do. It's like a job and it sucks. I have brought up maybe breaking up and she says she'll change the sexual side and never does. She says she'll appreciate me and does not. I'm not faultless in our fights, but I am essentially emotionally drained of this and want something new. It's not just about the sex life, I just feel like roommates who can put up with each other rather than actual passion for one another. I don't feel the connection I used to feel. How can I explain this unhappiness is so severe that I rather be single and start over even at this age. TLDR. On paper have an ideal partner ready for marriage, I don't feel that way and feel trapped. How do I escape? Stories number 14. How can I discuss not working anymore with my partner 3om? I need some advice on how to talk to my boyfriend about me not working anymore. I'm 28 and he's 30. We've been together for 5 years and we're planning to get married. Last year, he made enough from crypto and online gambling to retire. So he's now sitting on multiple 7 figures and makes passive income that far exceeds my $40,000 year salary. I enjoy my job, but it's not my passion, and I'd love to spend more time focusing on things I truly care about, maybe even starting a project or going back to school. I'm just not sure how to bring this up without sounding like I'm trying to mooch off him, or that I don't appreciate the value of hard work. He's always been supportive and generous, and I believe he'd be open to the idea, but I want to approach this delicately. I don't want to create any resentment or make him feel pressured. How should I bring up the conversation? Has anyone been in a similar situation where their partner's financial situation drastically changed the dynamics of the relationship? How did you navigate it? Any advice or insight would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. TLDR. My boyfriend 30 meters made enough to retire last year, and I to 5F want to discuss quitting my $40,000 job to pursue passions. How do I bring this up without causing issues? Stories number 15. How do I tell my husband to 7M it's over without him breaking down again? Info the subreddit rules ask for. I am 28, and my husband is 27. He's content to call himself my husband but won't actually marry me. We've been together 10 years. I've been with him since high school, and 2 years ago thought we would beat the high school couples always break up rule. I've always been scared of pregnancy. That's no secret, but a while back we saw family. He's never seen me interact with young kids and I think got baby rabies. He begged me for kids, promised to do whatever I needed to have kids. He just really wanted to have a family with me. My husband told me he saw a vision from God himself in an office, surrounded by paperwork. He was miserable, and then an alternate future, one with me and children. Happiness, he said he couldn't ignore that. So I said yes. We started trying immediate. 2 months later, all intimacy stopped. That's when he started second-guessing it. Kids are a bad idea. We can't afford them. We have to move. What if he was a bad dad? What if they were allergic to our cats? On and on. He suggested adopting. I was okay with it. I am still worried I'd hurt myself if I got pregnant by falling due to the bad ankle. But the ages he wanted to adopt kept getting higher and higher. And then he said he hates kids, doesn't want kids, never did, and I was pushing him for them. Maybe later. Give him more time. I seriously started considering breaking up when that happened. But I stuck around. He started at a new job late last year. We didn't see family until after the holidays because of it, and our holidays were severely impacted by the job. We didn't even set up a tree. I was very upset, and we fought over it. I dropped it, like always. When our Valentines went the same as last year, movie and a dinner at a high-end restaurant. And then a night in a hotel. I was disappointed but okay. He had suggested we do some things the day of our actual anniversary, exactly 1 week later. So I figured hey, he split it up. No big deal, and February 21st went well. There was a moment there that I felt very close to them. It was like we had that passion, that love, and I was ready to not have kids until we're more stable, whatever that looked like to him. I was okay with that, because eventually we would have them, and I thought he was going to propose. He looked so intense, so focused, I swore that was the moment. I got excited, I kissed him, and then waited. But then he looked away and said something unrelated, and we went home. I was frustrated. I spent hours making something, a million tiny notes for a bad day, and a booklet of memories. I burned it all. I told him this is what you're doing to me. I will not put that much effort into you again, until something changes. Early this month we signed the lease to renew at our current apartment, and those arguments came back, creeping around in my head and reminding me I wouldn't have that promised future. Because we both know he'd be a great dad, but he's too scared to ever actually do it. He never will. I told him it was over after an argument. He broke down in front of me and begged. Promised me everything. I hesitated, but he said he can't make it without me. He'd kill himself. I relented and said okay, well try again. Start over. He'll find someone to take over the lease and well get a house. Well get married. We could start doing the things to adopt. He got into a car accident last week. Very painful, but not debilitating injuries, bad back pain. Mostly. I didn't even go to the hospital. He just texted me and I texted back. His friend took a charger to the hospital for him since I can't drive and so couldn't take him one. That friend lives in the same apartment complex. But I didn't go with him. I felt nothing. He was alive. That's all that mattered to me. But now I'm left knowing I don't love him the same anymore. I care for him. I love him. But I no longer see him as my future partner. He hasn't asked for intimacy since the accident, but I don't love him that way anymore and wouldn't give it to him if he asked. It's like everything is just shut off. I waited 10 years for him to graduate and marry me. I stayed when the new job he got in October wouldn't change anything but actually messed up all our holidays including Halloween. I just don't want to do it anymore. How do I keep him from breaking down again? I want this to be over, and I need to do it as gently as possible. Any tips would be appreciated. Edit. He is home from the hospital as of when I made the post. I didn't clarify he was home already, sorry. The injuries are severe strain and contusions of lumbar paraspinal muscles. I'd quote that means. Edit. At the end, because I didn't know where else to put this, I made him book therapy and psych appointments when the vision happened. Both said he's okay. He's never had one before or since. Major edit. People are being harsher on him than I thought. And more information came up in a comment, so here is more info. He's fucking perfect. I can't drive. Fine. Here is a credit card for UBR. I don't want to cook. Okay, he will. I couldn't clean for a bit, so he hired someone. He pays me cash monthly in lieu of me having a job. I had a huge mental breakdown 5 years ago, and he helped me through it when I had to stop working and go to treatment. He has done so fucking much for me. It is only because I am mentally stable that I am confident I could leave, get and keep a job, and survive. I just feel guilty for it. All of it. He did so much and now I want to leave. But kids, extended families, holidays, where we live, we should agree on that. I also want to be more independent, be normal again and get a job, learn to drive. He's talking about taking me to lessons. It just makes me feel guiltier for being unhappy. Anything before for PMPSD didn't have this last edit's info in their advice. Edit. I'm sleeping on it and seeing if a couple more replies come in, but I'm done commenting now. Thanks y'all. I have a lot to think about. Probably know how this is going to go. Really appreciate the harshness and the kindness. Special thanks to helpful name Vexbox and 1DM person. Thanks for letting me vent 33ALSO. It was bothering me, so I had to go look it up. I haven't dug out that chain of emails in over a year. It was amitriptyline. That's the med the pharmacy swapped out for my lamotrigine and triggered the breakdown. I was swapping dosages of lamotrigine and didn't know what the new size looked like, just took it from the pharmacy and assumed it was right. I always check pill descriptions now, you should too. Make sure it matches. TLDR, husband won't actually marry me despite saying he would. Started trying for kids at his suggestion, then he shut it down and said no kids for at least 5 years. I tried to break up and he promised to change. He got into a car accident and I felt relieved he was alive, but only as if he were an acquaintance, not a partner. I need advice on how to break up for good this time. Stories number 16. I am getting desperate. I 25 and I am not attracted to my GF to 6F of 2 years. How do I break up with her? So, to start off with, my GF is kind, generous, funny, and an amazing person to being around. She has been so supportive of me during grad school and understanding that I don't have a lot of time. We've been dating for 2 years, and throughout it I am amazed at how kind and supportive she is. The problem is that I'm not physically attracted to her, and that is becoming harder to ignore as time passes. At this point, we don't really have sex, but I usually blame it on stress. She is an amazing person and I know she deserves someone who is attracted to her physically, but I don't know how to break up with her. I can't tell her the truth because she has some confidence plus mental health issues, and I want to do this as gently as possible. I tried breaking up with her a few months ago by saying I didn't feel a spark anymore, but she was so sweet about it and kept asking to work on our relationship that it broke my heart to be firm with the breakup. She also, rightfully, asked lots of questions about why I didn't feel a spark, and for long I didn't. And I had trouble answering them without telling her the truth. I know I am being shallow, but I can't help but feeling this way. I also want her to be happy from the bottom of my heart. I really need some advice. I've also never broken up with anyone before. Stories number 17. My M29 wife to 5F says she wants a break. How to proceed? This was at 3 a.m. She's 26 and was 18 when we got together. Sorry for the confusion. I'm not sure where to start. We have been together 8 years. 3 of those years we have been married. This all really came up so fast I am still processing it, and it's really more than just needing a break. But that's been the biggest topic my wife and I have had for how she's feeling. My wife a few days ago said she was going shopping and running some errands. An hour passes by and I get a text saying she won't be home. She's going to stay with her mom or get a hotel. She needed to clear her head and get some space. I understood. However, I found it difficult finding out this way over text. We have been together 8 years and I feel like she could have just told me in person. I'd never stop her from needing space. It was more difficult for me though because this was the first time in a while that I had an extra day off and all I wanted was to spend time with her, do some projects around the house, go on a hike, get or make some awesome dinners together. Whatever it may have been. I was so ready for this weekend with her. I responded about an hour later to her text because 1, she wanted space, and 2, I was feeling really sad. And slightly tricked because I wish she could have just told me in person. I've never made it difficult for her to tell me anything, or at least, she's never said I have. I try to always be open-minded and understanding. I told her okay, please just give me an update so I'm not worried about where you are. I didn't get a text back until the next day. I of course considered the thought of if there was someone else. She has assured me at this point that there is not, but I will tie this into another subject. She ends up coming home the next day, around 7 p.m. I completely let her be during this time to give her the space she needed. When she comes home I ask if I can express how it made me feel. She listens, but I still see she is hurting or deep in thought. It was a complete 180 from when she left to go shopping. The next day she expresses what's on her mind. There's a lot but I'll try and keep it shortened. She says that she wants a break. She is contemplating going to do her own thing and maybe even getting her own place to stay. She said she has started to be resentful towards me for taking care of things at home, from cleaning, doing laundry, making dinner. I will state that I've never expected her to do all these things for me. I am just not great at a consistent routine when I come home from work to do those tasks. I certainly do my part, but have ADHD and I have issues forgetting or procrastinating, so it's not always done in a timely manner. She says that she wants to know that she can do things on her own and find herself on a deeper level. Then the topic of wanting to explore her sexuality comes up as well, which changes things a lot for me. This is where I'd tie in the fact that there isn't someone else, but she is wanting to explore other people. I have always tried to be a provider. I do make more than her and she has struggled finding a career that makes her feel stable, even though for me, my success is her success. If she needs to use money from the account or credit card, it's hers, she doesn't need to ask. Unless it's a big purchase that we should discuss together, but even if she did that without telling me, I'd be fine because I trust her judgment. I've always gave her the opportunity to do what she needs to do. If that's going back to school, or starting her own business, or just being home and doing her own thing. We could manage without her income, even though with the current economy, it's very helpful. We also, in the past 2 years, recently bought a home that she really put pressure on. This makes the whole break idea even more difficult, because a large part of me went through with the home because I knew it was what she wanted. Of course, with me making more and her knowing I can handle the mortgage, I'd be left with the house and payments if she got a new place. On the topic of exploring her sexuality though, this is a whole different part and is hard for me to grasp. I can't really fathom the idea of her becoming emotionally attached to another person, mentally, physically, sexually, etc. It just doesn't seem normal to me, but I'm not experienced with all of this. If we weren't married with a recently bought home, then it would make more sense to me. I know sometimes it can show one another what you really want. I offered the idea of an open marriage. I felt like an open marriage would allow us to explore together, maybe meet new people together and explore our sexuality together. I also brought up that first, we should maybe meet a marriage counselor to help us traverse these waters better. We still haven't came up with a plan, but she's cold-shouldered me at home now. I feel like her roommate and not her husband right now. No goodbyes, kisses, hugs, etc. It has only been a few days, so I've been doing my best to give her space and be with her thoughts, but honestly, it's pretty painful. When I think of a break, in the way she's asking, I think I end up with the short end of the stick. Especially if we were to date others or explore our sexuality separately. She's absolutely gorgeous and has a beautiful soul. It wouldn't be difficult for her to find other people. I'm socially awkward. I wouldn't say I'm bad looking, but I'm not in peak shape. And I don't have a desire to become emotionally invested into other people. I will say that I do have wishes that I spent more time dating and exploring sexually with more people before I settled down, but it's never something I feel I absolutely need to do. On top of the fact that I just don't have a group of friends really anymore. I don't have events to attend. My family is small. I'd be stuck at home. I'd have to get creative. Another note to make, and something that's been a huge red flag for me, is we haven't had sex in weeks. This was definitely alarming. I've pretty much always been the one to make sexual advances, and I had stopped because I wanted her to make an attempt if she wanted me. She said that she doesn't know how to be sexy or come onto me that way. I've offered ideas, but it hasn't really ever happened. When we do have sex, it's always been great for both of us. I want to please her and vice versa. Our sex life really has never been bad, but the intervals have grown longer. I'd like to add the context that, frankly, I failed her, and I think this is a part of where this stems from. My whole life I've had social anxiety and for a long time, battled depression. I've made a lot of progress, but it has made me become complacent, and I find a groove or routine and just stick to it. It's obviously boring. I come home and do the same things. I'm not extremely romantic. I don't plan a ton of dates and etc. I'm not always the best listener, even though I try my best. I think that's part of my ADHD though. I just go on squirrel mode sometimes and have to ask her to repeat herself. Or, I'm so invested in my own things that I'm hyper-focused on them. We both play video games and I make music, and those things I can get really focused on. I also have found, and she's mentioned, that she feels she needs to suppress her excitement on things to match my emotions. For some damn reason, I struggle to show my excitement for things that I should really be more excited about, or I show it at the wrong times. We do our best to plan vacations. I'm always willing to plan things like camping trips, or when we recently went to Hawaii. But I get so calculated that I almost ruined the fun of it all. To add, I've made a lot of personal changes and cut out a lot of people in my life to help provide a better relationship for us. I was a pretty big partner, and so were a lot of the people I hung around. I also just generally made changes about myself that she personally struggled with because I wanted us to work. It worked out well for us for a long time. I don't think it's healthy to change yourself for another person unless those changes benefit you personally in becoming a better you. I've lost quite a few friends and don't really have a group that I can hang out with anymore. A few people stuck around, but we certainly aren't close anymore. I'm probably missing a lot of things, and I appreciate anyone who takes the time to read this and offer advice. I just don't know how to proceed. I also don't know how to comfortably be at home right now. Nothing feels the same, man. I feel like I'm holding onto in string. Stories number 18. Update: my 28F sister Abby 36F abandoned my nephew 20 meters when he was 14, and now she wants me to help her get back into his life. Should it help? I would like to thank you all for your messages. Sammy and I sat down and went through each message to help us both know we made the right choice. I want to answer a few questions. A lot of people wanted to know why I was doubting my decision to not support Abby's and Sammy's reunion. The answer is that I have had 2 miscarriages in the past 3 years, and after the second one, my husband and I decided to stop trying. Every time I would bring up how my sister abandoned Sammy, my mom would say things like, "You will never understand what it's like to be a mom, or you'll understand if you ever have kids," and she would kick me while I was down. I know it's weak, but those moments would make me shut up. She would also say I was keeping Sammy from Abby because I could never be a real mom, and was scared she would take him. I let all of that get to me. People also asked about Sammy's dad. I never met the guy. I don't know if my sister knows who he is honestly. She used to say they met at a game, but again, I never met him. Now the update. This morning, my husband, Sammy, and I decided to go to my mother's house. Before we went, I showed Sammy this post and he wants to say thank you to all of you. My family was starting to get to him as well, and hearing other people, especially parents, say that what his mom did was unforgivable helped him a lot. Sammy is in therapy and has been since he was about 15. The very first thing I noticed when we arrived was how little Abby interacted with Sammy. At the party, Abby kept trying to touch him or talk to him, etc. But this morning she looked up and that was it. It made me feel like she's only a mom when others are around. My mom immediately started asking if we wanted to get over the past and become a family. Sammy said Abby he refuses to call her mom had to at least apologize. Abby dared to say, "I didn't do anything wrong, you were horrible." I am normally a calm person, but this time I saw red. I immediately stood between them to tell her she was a horrible mom who barely deserved to be called that. How could she call him horrible, and she was sneaking out to have sex at 15, or when she brought a baby home at 16. He lost his best friend. He can miss a few answers on a test. Abby also tried to pull the "you will never be a mom," and I pulled out my phone to find this thread. I searched every message that detailed how horrible she and my mom was. Abby threatened to make her own post to expose the truth. Side note: Jamie, my sister's real name. I dare you to tell these people the truth. Make a post trying to excuse abandoning your 14-year-old in a moment when he needed you the most, and how you only want to come back because your ex-fiance refused to marry such a monster. Sammy also said that if he finds out she made a post on her, he will make a post and include screenshots of all the times he texted, called her, and got no response. At this point, I thought I was getting through to my mom. She was starting to read every message and was realizing how she was enabling my sister. But my sister immediately, "And you exposed my business on the internet," and my mom immediately started to berate me. At this point, my husband spoke up. He told my mom that she wasn't welcomed into his house and told my sister that if she contacted his son again he would press charges. Sammy also added that if his mom contacted him ever again, he would find her ex online and tell him everything. Long story short, we are all going to NC with my mom and sister, as well as anyone else who tries to give us messages from them. My mom already tried to convince my dad to make me talk to them. Jamie and I have different fathers, but he cussed them out. I talked to Sammy about everything, and he did admit that this all felt like a setback. He felt like he only mattered to his mom because she needed something. He will be talking to his therapist about that. My husband and I are thinking about moving. This will of course take some time. We always planned on moving, but we didn't want to force Sammy to change schools, especially when he got to high school. I just want to say thank you all again. You guys helped me realize that I was allowing my mom and sister to take my miscarriage and use it to make me a flying monkey. I know I didn't give birth to Sammy, but to me, he is my son. Stories number 19. My ex to 3F is planning on seeing me to 1M. How do I bring my ex at ease? Me and my girlfriend, ex, had been together and living together for 2 years. We are basically each other's family. Very close to one another. She recently broke up with me this month because of issues of not being kind and caring towards her. She says she 100 wanted to be single. She's not the type to cheat, she just got sick of my shit. I've been going to therapy and working on myself for a bit now and got a new jobs and things like that. She recently reached out after 5 days of no contact wanting to catch up. She called again today. She says we should see each other soon to and talk with no expectations to either reconcile or to move on. Closure. As well as saying that she believes enough time has passed. How do I show that I did treat her wrong then, that it will definitely be different this time? Going through this heartbreak, can I mean it, was the toughest thing I've ever experienced, and now I know exactly how she felt in the relationship. I want to truly treat her better in this relationship. She even said her biggest fear is getting back with me for me to only after realizing I have again to treat her badly. How do I convince or bring her mind to ease that this wouldn't be the case? Stories number 20. I am 31 am, unhappy with relationship with fiance after 9 how to end things without ruining their life. Tilder, at the bottom because this is a long one. So this am in a bit of pickle and am seeking advice here. 1M31 have been dating my fiance F29 for almost 5 years. And have always felt that this relationship wasn't quite right for me. I know some of you will probably call me the asshole for being in a relationship that long while feeling that way. Hear me out. Another quick head about me is that I take a long time to process emotions. Pretty sure it's something to do with how I grew up. Seen a therapist about it but not long enough to truly resolve it. It'll be relevant later. Let's get a quick backstory that should add some context. Before my fiancé and I started dating, I would casually date and break up with my ex-partners within 6 months. I just felt something was missing in those relationships, or maybe some minor issues I had with that person was enough and bounced. After years of doing that, started thinking I really wanted someone to live my life with and figured maybe it was my way of thinking. That if I wanted to grow with another person, I'd have to accept it wouldn't be perfect and that I'd have to learn to love the imperfections. And that's when I met my now fiancé. We had a rocky start. If you'd have met us in the beginning you would have said, why on earth are together? We fought a lot, like a loot. I was selfish and she was a brat. I thought then that I probably should leave, but then I reminded myself that relationships are work. And we agreed some major things like not having kids and wanting to move away from our hometown. That's hard to find at our current stages in life, so I stayed. Fast forwarding through lots of bad but also lots of good times, and over time, we got better in our respective issues. I became less of a dick and she became much less of a brat. I would argue she's grown more than me. Now last year I received a life-changing job offer. Would relocate me across the country and pay me relative shitload of money to do so. Along with strong job security, as the industry is difficult to find new people due to its technical nature. She wasn't keen on this move because all of her friends and family were in the hometown and she'd never been that far away from everyone. I understood, but prospects were not good for us if we stayed. I thought that maybe this would be the end of our relationship because I didn't want to drag her with me. But it was a once-in-a-lifetime offer for me given the circumstances. It pulled me out of debt and stopped my paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle. Plus, with no degree, it would have taken me 10+ years to make this kind of money at the job I had back home. Reluctantly she agreed and came with me, but only if I promised to put a ring on her finger. I did so. We packed up shop and did the 3,300-mile drive to a new life. Now we're here and life's not bad, but I still can't shake this feeling that I'm not truly happy in a relationship. Recently I had to go on a work trip out of the country for a month, fucking wild to me, where all expenses are paid and there would be 10 days off to do whatever I wanted in this new country. And as soon as I found out about the trip I immediately dreaded it, not only because I had to be away from my fiancée for so long and leave her alone in a new state, but because I can't truly enjoy something on my own without her because she has massive FOFO. I feel like I should not have to feel bad for receiving such an awesome opportunity, but I do, and that pisses me off. Anyway, so I come up with a band-aid to the problem to fly her out to me for a week on my downtime so we can explore a new country. Now here's where I believe I majorly fucked up. While there we had a decent time. We still bicker, which is concerning given the cool vacation we were on that only cost the price of a plane ticket. And near the end of its second to last day, we start fighting because she believed that I would propose to her on this trip. She told her friends that she was 100% certain I would. But I hadn't, so argue. I promised her a ring and it hadn't happened yet, and she was pissed about it. We had a long talk and I was honest about these feelings I had. That I wasn't sure anymore that she was the one and that I believe it was something going on in my brain. Because I do think I'm a bit depressed. So we talked about these feelings I'm having felt for a while and she believes it's due to video games. Lack of sun because the new home is in Oregon, or possibly that I have a chemical imbalance and am NGL if I haven't thought that was it. But whenever I really think about I always come back to it's the relationship. However, we have had this same talk multiple times in the past and I always feel better after it. Though within a couple weeks I'm right back to thinking this relationship isn't for me. That after that talk, I felt calm, and that maybe I could spend my life with this person. So the next day I proposed to her before she left to go back home. I thought in the moment it was the right thing to do. She was super excited, which in turn made me feel better. That was 2 weeks ago. Now we're up to present day. I'm back home, and am in the same position I've been before. I feel like I'm burnt out on this relationship, wishing she stayed back in her hometown, beating myself up for proposing to her. But now I'm feeling trapped and don't know what to do. I love her, but I feel like if I'm having these thoughts again and again that it's unfair to her for me to drag this along. On the flip side, I don't know how to even untangle our lives. She doesn't make very much money, so I'd quit shed even do. She has a dog and 2 cats and refuses to speak to her mom because they are currently fighting. Her mom is controlling narcissist and that strains the whole family, but that's a whole other thing. Anyways, so she'd have nowhere to go and I'd be causing her that stress. Now I may be unhappy with the relationship, but I still love her and care about her well-being. I would happily give her money to get home and buy her out of her larger furniture, because I can't afford to pay movers for a distance like that. But even if I did all that, I'd be sending her back to a whole host of problems, because I do most of the financial heavy lifting in this relationship. I'm at a complete loss. I guess I'm afraid to break up with her because of my own conscience, which is fuck, but also I don't have it in me to continue this relationship. It's either I break up with her and throw her life into shambles, or stay with her and continue to be miserable all the time. I know that was a wall of text. If you made it this far, I'm sorry for my scatter-brained recollection of the relationship. Life is complex, and try to summarize all that has happened is not easy for me. Doctor. I'm unhappy with the relationship, but I'm also happy with it. Recently proposed to my GF and am regretting it. We've had ups and downs, but it seems to be more downs for me. Problem is I moved her 3,300 miles from home to be with me and new job, and now she's basically burned her bridges with her family back home. She doesn't make good money, so if we break up she'd have nowhere to go. I would obviously help her get home and give her seed money to rebuild because I do care for her, but money doesn't solve everything. So now I'm stuck between breaking up and sending her home to life in shambles, or staying together making me miserable. I'm burnt out and don't know what to do. Stories number 20. I 27 am losing interest in my BF 25m after finding out about his past. Don't know how to stop. Miban, I have been dating for a year. I don't have any major concerns about our relationship. He's very sweet and good to me. The problem is that I found out that he had a pretty busy past. He has a reputation as a man wherein he has slept with at least 20 to 30 girls. He would be with several girls at once in casual relationships or go through a bunch of girlfriends. I found it out from a girl he used to date coming to me as a woman to warn of his reputation. When I reached out to other girls, they all kind of said the same thing, that he was a bop who strung girls along until he got bored. He's my second boyfriend. My first BF and I parted ways after he figured out he was gay. I place a high value on intimacy. I had no idea that he had such a past. I was the one who asked him out and I feel kind of uncomfortable. I feel bad because I try not to judge people based on their past, and I don't think SL*T shaming is a good thing to do. I think it's his right to engage in experiences that he wanted to do, but on the other hand I feel like we have two different values of intimacy and relationships. My ultimate end goal for a relationship is to get married and be settled in a death do us part way. I'm not looking to be in a casual relationship and get dumped when things get boring. I feel kind of distant from him because of that, and because I feel like just another girl in his long string of relationships. How do I get past my hang-ups about my boyfriend's past, and should I bring it up to him? Stories number 21. My partner to 9F and I were going through a rough patch and I found she messaged someone else. I'm 34M. How do I move forward? Please advise. I really need some advice, guys. I'm in a bit of a pickle and inside my own head massively. For context, we have been together 5 years, have a mortgage in the UK and a daughter age 1. A few weeks back my partner told me she wasn't happy and wanted to see what we could go do work on our relationship. Which was good, it seemed she wanted to work on it. I made more effort and I felt she wasn't quite giving the same. I felt something was out. I checked her phone. I know that's bad. I never usually do this. But I had a bad feeling and found she was messaging some guy who had been liking all her Instagram pictures. They were going to meet for a coffee. It wasn't sexual texting but specifically mentioned and that she didn't want me to know. I confronted her. She apologized, said she was sorry, it was a blip. A mistake won't happen again, as she wants to focus on us. A few days later she went out for the first time in a while for drinks. She got very drunk and I just couldn't help but check and could see she had been searching for him again on Instagram and Facebook. By this point, I made sure she unfollowed him on everything so she couldn't see anything. But it means he's in her head. The guy has a baby on the way too and is planning to meet my partner. Real scumbag, if I can say so. I just don't know where to go from here. I confronted her on that again and she apologized once more, said she was drunk, she shouldn't have done it. She hasn't messaged him and is not even attracted to him. I feel a bit lost, heartbroken, lost trust in the one person I had trust and I want advice on how I go forward. Has anyone experienced anything similar? Stories number 22. Me 39M has hit a dead stop with girlfriend 39F of 10 years. We've got 2 kids. What should Ito? Right. So if 39M been with a girl 39 for 10 years. We've got 2 kids for N6 and are in immense trouble relationship wise. It all started going downhill when our first kid was born. Shocker. All of a sudden all I was doing was wrong, whether if it was mixing infant formula, fixing things around the house plus. I don't care too much about that, but we had little time for my part of our life, like my family, friends, or interests, and she had the last say in every decision, basically. Fast forward 6 years and things are pretty much the same. The kids aren't a biggie anymore, and coping with them alone is no problem, so we've gotten some of our social life back. But if I want to invite a friend, there's always an excuse to not to. If I suggest we should go to my family, there's always an excuse. I usually go without her and tell the others that she has to work. The worst part for me is that she basically takes absolutely no interest in my life or my interests. If I'm out doing what I love the most for a few days, she has absolutely no questions or couldn't care less about my weekend. I got offered to do a PhD at my workplace and was pretty excited about it. But she just replied with, "You sure this is a good time for that?" without congratulating me or returning my excitement. When confronted with it, she just gets angry and rants about how often she has to take care of the kids. Truth is, I do most things around the house and definitely don't get to rant about that. The lack of interest in me and my life is absolutely killing me. Oh, and we haven't had sex since our 4-year-old was conceived. So, for about 5 years pretty soon. Objectively, I feel like something's wrong, yet another shocker, which I've had a hunch about ever since the start. We talk past each other, granted, and communicate poorly, but I feel there's a lack of empathy in her that I can't cope with. I know you're getting just one side of the story here. I'll gladly admit she has some fair points when we're discussing, but I feel like I've evolved to a completely different person, and that person is just present around her. We're in therapy and sadly, that isn't helping. We're just stuck there answering questions and agreeing on how things should be without changing things at home afterwards. I've slowly lost my love for her and feel like my situation-induced semi-depressed state of mind is influencing how I'm taking care of my family. I feel better, and she's out traveling. I want to leave her and feel I will be a better father if I do so, but I'm scared shitless about how this will affect my children. So, what to do? Is this life about sucking it up, coping, powering through, having random meltdowns and doing okay for 40 years plus, or actually about following your heart and doing what you think is the right thing, which I don't know is the right thing? Stories number 23. I 21F can't stand my boyfriend to 6ms sex drive anymore. What should Ito? We have been dating for almost 3 years. Everything is going well except from sex life. It was good for the first year and a half. We both had a pretty similar sex drive. 4 to 5 times a week his guarantee. But since last year my BF just always doesn't feel like having sex. At first I thought he was just waiting for me to take the initiative, but it was clearly wrong based on how many times I have been rejected. In fact, he rejected me every single time. He's tired. He's feeling sick. He thinks it's a bad time, blah blah blah. He swore that it got nothing to do with how he feels about me. He still finds me attractive and sexy. He still likes me a lot. Anyway, since then we only have sex like once a month, sometimes not even once. When we are not having sex, I would ask him to finger me because I just don't get any pleasure from masturbating. He rejects me every time still. I just don't get it, like what is the reason? I asked him to maybe go see a doctor, but he just wouldn't. I really don't know what to do, so I just tried communicating with him. And it apparently made things worse because he now thinks I'm always complaining. Our relationship is perfect if sex life doesn't count. But sadly it does, and this whole thing is really driving me crazy. I like my boyfriend a lot and am literally losing my mind. I just want to know what should I do, or what can I even do? I am actually desperate. TLDR, everything is perfect except from not enough sex. I love him but I really need sex. What should I do? Stories number 24. How do I to 5F end my relationship with my boyfriend to 5M? He treats me to 5F exactly like a friend but only additionally says he loved me. He thinks he can keep me by not prioritizing me at all, and I'm sick of being walked over. I also don't want to tell him I'm done with the relationship, as whenever I tell him anything slightly serious he gets hysterical, and that's exhausting for me and I end up being blamed. I'd rather it fizzle out into friendship or nothing, but I can't stand hearing him say he loves me when he does nothing to show for it. It hurts my self-esteem for me to allow him to keep treating me this way. He never compliments me, makes time for me, or treats me in any special way at all. I haven't responded to his "I love yours" for a few days now, and he hasn't asked why not, or probably even noticed a difference that I'm more distant. It's like he doesn't care. What should I do? We've been together a year. Also, I'm incredibly lonely, and I've finally gotten to the point of rather learning to cope by myself than deal with this crippling situation anymore. But I'm scared I'll never find someone else again. Stories number 25. How do I 18M break up with my girlfriend 18F? I've been dating this girl for about half a year and we've clicked well and held a very healthy relationship with fully transparent communication, etc. etc. We share interests. It's the classic ADHD me. Autism her pairing, yes, officially diagnosed for both of us. We've had problems here and there, but they've been resolved for the most part. I don't really have a good reason for breaking up, besides two things. We both just graduated our senior year in high school. We're young, we've been planning on staying together through college, not the same college, but close enough to where frequent visits are possible and spending our lives together. But I can't help but feel like we're too young to be locked in like this. I feel like I'm settling. Our relationship has been good, but it has not been a 50-50 resource commitment. She tries her best, but she doesn't have a job or a license, and is emotionally fragile, in stark opposition to me. I want her to be strong and I wanted to be there for her, but I can only provide so much without feeling like a caretaker rather than a boyfriend. Also, she's certainly gorgeous, but she isn't my type. I'm attracted to her, but it's like there's a level cap on it. I'm sure she could find someone who appreciates her gifts more than me. I don't think I want to go through college and the rest of my life attached to someone I met in 12th grade. I'm a life's experiences kind of person rather than life's accomplishments, and I love people, so it just feels so limiting to have only experienced one serious relationship and not be able to branch out. I love her, but I feel like there's just so much of the world I have yet to explore, and right now I feel like I've been tied down into one spot, also literally because I'm choosing the in-state college to stay close enough to her. I don't think I'm making a mistake in this, but maybe I'm just delusional. How should I bring this up to her, if at all? I know for a fact she will not be taking this well, and she gets clingy. Love bomb as signs of peril, which works very well on guilting me, so I'm really scared to do it. Stories number 26. I found out my husband, N29, was cheating on me, F28. What the hell do I do? On Friday, I found out my husband, male 29, was cheating on me, female 28. I got to work on Friday morning and went to check my husband's email to see if deals had gone through. However, I found something that I think I'll never forget. My husband had been talking to about 10 to 15 people on Reddit very explicitly, sending nudes to them, and even planned to meet up with a couple of them and invited them to our house. The way my body went completely cold doesn't even begin to explain how I felt. I left work and went home to address him, and the only two reasons he could explain to me was that he was bored and didn't know why he did it. He also swore that he never met with anyone and never had planned for them to actually come to the house, and that it was just something you say during the moment. I'm completely lost, guys. We have a 4-year-old daughter and I've always wished that when I had a kid and a family, I would keep our family together no matter what. I never thought I'd be in this situation. My family is 100% trying to convince me to leave, but it just doesn't seem that easy. The love is still there somehow, and I can't imagine taking my daughter out of her routine and out of the house where she's made friends in the neighborhood. My heart wants to fix this so badly, but I don't know if it's even possible. What do I do? Stories number 27. My boyfriend M25 wants to share me with men due to unhealed trauma and I F24 can't take it anymore. Thoughts? For some background, my boyfriend M25 and I F24 have been together for about 4 years. About 3 years ago, my boyfriend admitted to me that he had a cuckold fetish. During the time, he was having an issue staying hard during sex, not ed, but struggled mentally for some time during sex. And me being as desperate as I was at the time to keep him aroused, I entertained it, never actually did anything with anybody. I would dirty talk about it during sex with him. It made me feel happy that I was able to keep him up during sex even if I wasn't okay with it. Eventually I found myself losing my identity and felt disgusted. It wasn't in me to actually even be talking about it. I would go home and cry about it. I would also think to myself and question, if he loved me, why would he even want to share me? This made me learn more about fetishes, where I learned about the root cause of it. As for some background, my boyfriend came from a very toxic ex-relationship where his ex cheated on him many times and he was left distraught. His very first love too. He was an extreme jealous type and so his biggest fear came to life. He ended up cheating on her back several times too. All in all, he was very hurt and has had trust issues from the relationship. My boyfriend also had a hard time expressing emotions and I came to the conclusion that he has turned that trauma that he went through into something more appealing, something he gets aroused for, and labeled it a fetish for him. I mentioned this to him a couple of times, where he denied it, and from time to time he would randomly bring up the idea of sharing me with other men, especially when he was drunk, in which I would then turn away the idea. I even told him how awful it felt to entertain the conversation I had previously about the topic with him, so I would say I wasn't okay with talking about it anymore, yet he would bring it up again. I would get hurt again and then the cycle would repeat. Until one day I told him that if he would bring it up again, I think he would be better off finding someone who can make him happy with his fetish unhealed trauma. Since then we have received couple therapy in which it was brought up. The therapist then even confirmed that in fact it does seem like it is unhealed trauma from his ex-relationship and a way he copes to suppress his true feelings of jealousy. If a guy gives me attention that he doesn't like, I get a lot of attention from men. She suggested to him that he should talk to his individual therapist about healing his ex-trauma. He has been in therapy for 3 years or else it would continue to bleed on to this relationship. Now just recently, is past weekend, me and him got into a huge argument. We have been fighting more recently, and I suggested taking a break and space where we can explore our options to see if our hearts really grow fond for each other by going on dates. In which his response to that was that we should stay together while he shares me and do all the things that we would on the break but together. It's like he found an opportunity to mention it again. I was heartbroken. I told him I was talking about being completely on a break, maybe dates, but being not together, not while being together, and worse, not having sex. I immediately cry and told him I would catch feelings for the men if I do this. That if he was okay with watching me also go on dates with these men, that I would be down. Of course I wasn't really down, but I was trying to see how far he would go for his sexual desires. He got really horny and started touching me, but then he paused and then refused to do it. If I was going to have any emotional connections with these men, he says that all of this would be without emotional connection or no deal. I even asked him if that would mean he would also have sex with other women, and he said he wouldn't mind it. That what he is really interested in is me having a threesome with another man. I broke down. I told him how upset I was and how much I want to be in a mono relationship where a person doesn't want to share me. I even went ahead and told him I think we should get back to our exes, which I didn't mean at all, but I was just heartbroken and just miss being in a relationship where not objectify. He expressed to me that it is wrong to not let him express himself and conversate about things in his mind. and that his individual therapist said this could be something good for the relationship and be something fun if it turns him on. I am guessing he didn't really open up about his ex or just didn't really show therapist about how hurt his ex left him, and even said that he would lie to me about his thoughts if I don't let him express himself. He said he only entertained the women part of him also having sex because I mentioned it to him. I just can't do it anymore. The pain for the past 3 years I almost blame myself for because of entertaining that topic 3 years ago. He says he does want a monotonous relationship with me and that this would be just for fun. He is disrespected over and over at bringing this topic up even after physically seeing how much this pains me, and says that he should be able to express himself and am wrong for not being able to converse with him about it since words are just words. I literally resent him for this so much. I do not want to talk to him about something I will never do. I love this man with my whole heart, but I feel like I'm just not the person for him, and if I ignore his now this topic will be brought up in the future again and will be distraught about it. He says it's not important to him, but it just keeps getting brought up, so it's clearly something he thinks about. Thoughts, TLDR. Boyfriend has unhealed trauma from his cheating ex in which he thinks he has a cuckold fetish and it has ruined our relationship. I don't know what to do or think. What should he do? Stories number 28. Is it normal that my 35 wife F. 33 casually writes to her friend that she regrets being married after small fight? Yesterday we had a small fight that ended by me going to office instead of working from home. We were supposed to go to a work event for kids with her coworkers, but I stayed in the office as I still had a lot of work, and I was in no mood to go there anyway. Later that day I accidentally found out that she proceeded to write to her female coworker, not even a close friend, how stupid I am and that she regrets that she didn't see it sooner, meaning before getting married. I understand that in the heat of the moment one could feel that way, but I would need dream of telling something so personal about our relationship to even a close friend of mine. How are we supposed to work together if even after a small fight she thinks in this way? I asked her if she wants a divorce. She didn't answer directly. I am considering it, but we have 2 small kids, which I love beyond words, and I don't want to see them less. We have some fights, small or bigger, quite often, probably once a month. I am to blame too, as I have quite a short fuse. Though when I get angry I always try to solve it by taking a step back and calming down, reflecting and saying sorry. Even if I too sometimes feel like this marriage was a mistake, I would never betray her privacy by bad-mouthing her to my friends. That just feels like a total hit below the waist. I know that the main issue here is actually our relationship, not what someone else thinks. Of what am I supposed to take from this situation? Stories number 29. Rich and handsome am 20 to be F making F to me feel insecure, what to do? Okay, despite the title, it's not literally my BF who's making me insecure, but the people around me. My BF comes from a rich family, generational wealth, and he is a pretty handsome type of looks. He's 6'1" and is very smart as well. My BF has nothing but been loving and caring and respectful. But the thing is, I have never felt insecure when I got to date my BF until people around me started pointing out, or more like they keep mentioning of, how did I even get a BF like him? Harsh comments like, but you're poor, why you? He's settling for less, you're only after his money. Maybe you're just goat in bed, you sure you're not the other woman? Most of the time these PPL usually just say how it's a joke, like 1 or 2 comment is fine, but now I noticed how I keep getting comments like this. Just a little background. I don't think I'm ugly, but probably just normal looking. Though it's true that I am a working student and is coming from poverty. My BF and I got together when we clicked and vibes 3 years ago. Anyways, I wanted to talk about this personal issue to my BF, but I know he can't really do anything about it. I think I'm just letting out my thoughts here. I'd what to do anymore. What should he do? Stories number 30. My 21M brother 13M has been behaving in a concerning way with our dog. Should I be concerned? My brother has always been the youngest of 4 brothers in the family. He is also on the spectrum. This means that he's received significant attention since he was a child, deservedly so. Yet since we got our dog, there's been 2 shifts for him. The first is attention. The second is discipline. He's obviously getting less attention because of the dog. He's also being spoken to seriously now, but this isn't related to the dog. It's about him becoming a teenager and needing to learn to take responsibility. Until recently, he was also facing a difficult time at school. That is to say, this is a difficult period for him. At the same time, I'm worried that he's taking out his frustration on the dog. In front of me, he steps on the dog, pushing him down, generally trying to express seemingly dominant behavior. What scares me is what I don't see, though. I'll often hear our dog squealing or whining from the other room. But when I come, he's walking away from the dog and there's nothing to see. Our entire family has tried to get him to stop, and it ranges from bothering the dog to what I think is genuinely anger stemming from his ego. I'm writing this because yesterday, while my brother was calling him, the dog barked, something he never does until he feels threatened, especially never at someone in the family. He refused to come close, and it was only when I stood next to my brother that he came, that too, with a radius around my brother. My brother is a good person, but I also know that being a teenager makes a boy angry and egotistic, and I want to prevent him from developing a habit, doing something that he will regret. What should I do? Should I be concerned here? Stories number 31. I 1/8F feel that BF to 3N isn't interested in me enough. Is communication the answer? It seems that just about every problematic relationship post boils down to communication. I've been with my BF for about a year and a half. Long distance for 6 months so far. I've done the 3-hour and back drive to his house 5 times. He's never tried to come see me. Sometimes, when I visit, he spends 4 to 6 hours playing with his friends on Discord during the day. The cherry on top of this shit Sunday is despite all this time that has passed, I feel that he doesn't make an effort to really get to know me. Like he doesn't know what music I like, he never asks what movies I want to watch. He doesn't know the names of my family, nor has he met them. I'm close with his family, where I come from, just weirdly simple stuff. I on the other hand know all these things about him. I'm with him for his stable nature and amazing sense of humor. Despite all these flaws, he's probably the most emotionally mature guy I've met. Am I supposed to communicate to him that he's not taking enough interest in me, effort into the relationship? I looked through some threads on here and most people say yes, but shouldn't be just being doing this naturally. If yes, the relationship is probably over. Stories number 32. My M23XF23 won't leave me alone. How should I approach this? We split up a few weeks ago after 7 years. She's done almost nothing but treat me like shit since we were 15, and I finally saw the light. I left her, which I've done many times, but this time it was different. I really mean it, and I think she can see that. I blocked her on everything and changed my number, but she has been emailing me most days since then, asking me to unblock her and she misses me, etc. Last week, after probably 25 unanswered emails, she sent 20p to my bank with the reference unblock me, and 2 days later sent me to OP again with the reference please. This email is tied to basically my entire life and I can't stop using it. I also obviously don't want to change my bank account. But when you're trying to move on after such a long time, and they won't stop communication with you, it makes it a lot more difficult. I just want her to leave me alone. How should I approach this? Stories number 33. How do I 37M talk to my wife 37F about workload? Background. I work in accounting where my week is typically 50 to 60 hours. And also have to travel for business that I had been able to limit to 2 to 4 days per month. Aside from travel weeks, I am working from home 2 days and going into the office 3 days per week. My wife works as a part-time analyst where she puts in 20 hours per week and always takes Fridays off. It is a project-based job, so she has a ton of flexibility. In terms of income, we are comfortable at $150,000 before any bonuses or receive, and I bring in roughly approximately 80% of that. We are also in a low cost of living area. Expenses are typical: cars, mortgage, etc. We have a 12-year stepson that we have half-time. He is pretty independent, but I typically drop him off at school and my wife picks him up. We have a dog and a few cats as well. For regular household duties, it is all over the place depending on the need. At the very least, I clean litter boxes and walk the dog every day. Everything else is as needed. My main policy is that I can sit down and relax when my wife can sit down and relax. The problem: my career has always been busy and it seems to frequently create tension in our relationship. If I have to travel for work, My wife gets very stressed and almost bitter towards me for a day or so, reminding me how she has to take my stepson to school, walk the dog, figure out dinner, etc. In response, I try to wake up earlier before a morning flight to walk the dog and take care of any other chores before I go, which can be a bit challenging at 3 a.m. If I have a major deadline or need to work later, I will give as much notice as possible. But at the end of the day, I will come home to a wife who is very upset again, reminding me of all the stuff she did that day while I was gone. At the end of the day, I can't shake the thought that taking our stepson to school takes 15 minutes max, walking the dog takes 25 minutes, and even on her busy days she has at least a few hours for personal hobbies, watching TV, or playing video games. Meanwhile, I am stressing out trying to figure out how to juggle family life and work, hoping to just get a moment to relax. It is also pretty common for her to be working, but she is actually playing video games or reading a book. I honestly can't figure out what is more stressful, my job or the way my wife treats me in relation to my job. My questions. I don't think money is everything, but doesn't the fact that I work hard to provide for my family carry a decent amount of weight in how I contribute to my household? How do I even start to talk about this without unintentionally belittling her and making her feel like her efforts aren't seen? TLDR. My career is busy and creates tension in my relationship. My wife, who works part-time and has tons of downtime, seems to hold it against me. Not sure how to discuss it in a productive way. Stories number 34. My 22F mother 61F keeps hijacking my pregnancy. How can I get her to stop? Update. Edit 3. Putting this up top since no one seems to read the ones at the bottom. I've had a long conversation with my mother about boundaries and the consequences of breaking them. For once it was surprisingly productive and I got my point across. I realized that I should have held more firm. I relaxed my boundaries because she did what she has my whole life, and changed for a while after facing consequences and then reverted back to old ways. From now on she is back on the info diet and knows what consequences are in store if she pushes boundaries again. Now as for the people attacking and judging me for my financial situation from a Reddit post, I truly hope you all continue to have the luxury of not knowing what it's like to have to choose between losing a home or rooming with someone who pushes boundaries. Yes, one financial crisis landed us here, but we have worked our asses off since we moved in and found out we were pregnant to get ourselves in a stable position. Both the move and pregnancy happened within a week of each other. We had no clue we were pregnant until we got here. We are contractually obligated to stay in the area for my husband's job until around October. After that, we plan on being on our own again. We have the choice right now of being out on our own and barely floating, or staying at my mom's and setting our family up so that we never have to go through this again. We have carefully planned the next year to get us in a position where we don't have to worry financially. You can't see from a Reddit post or even my comments how hard we have busted our asses to give our family a good life. Once again, choosing to keep our daughter was an incredibly hard conversation. We went over every choice we could make: termination, adoption, foster, keeping her, everything. We were fully prepared to not be parents, but we came up with a plan to make it work. We have a stable, steady income and my inheritance to support us. However, the legal process of dealing with inheritance without a will takes money. Moving out takes money. Everything takes money. So even though we could move out, it's smarter for us and our daughter to stay here for a little longer. If the first year of her life is rough so that the rest of it is worrying-free, that's worth it to me. We are more than capable of providing for her. We made sure of that. It'll take having my boundaries stomped on and being forced to grow a spine if it means that my daughter will have a good life. In done replying and arguing with people who will never understand just how hard we're working for this little girl. This post was about my mother disrespecting my boundaries, not whether or not we should have our daughter. I'm 34 weeks 8 months pregnant. Since finding out about my baby back in October, my mother has hijacked and pressured me every step of the way. When we found out, my husband and I wanted to wait until we were 12 weeks to announce. I had the cuttest Christmas announcement planned and was super excited. Well, she blabbed to a couple people and threatened to spill to more, so to beat her to the punch we announced at roughly 7 weeks. Turn around, and my husband and I decided to have an intimate gender reveal. and record our reaction to send to family first before posting to make it fair since his family lives a few hours away. The whole day she kept trying to get us to just tell her. She also was super insistent that baby was a boy since she never had a beau. She's a girl BTW. We posted the video and she called her side of the family telling them before they could see the video from us. Most recently, in talking last night, she made a comment on a schoolmate of mine's maternity photos revealing the name we pick publicly. We've only told close family and our doctors thus far. There's so many small things in between, like buying as many baby clothes as possible even after her dad and I told her to stop since we haven't even shopped yet. Making little comments comparing my daughter and pregnancy to her, including mentioning her traumatic birth at least once a week. I'm getting so exhausted setting boundaries and explaining to this grown woman why what she did is wrong. I know that she's excited, but so am I. Just once I want to make an announcement myself and on my time. How can I make her understand? Is it even worth trying anymore? Edit. Thank you everyone for being so blunt. I had her on an info diet for a few months. We talked and for a while things change and I really thought this time would be different. It was not. You're all correct and I relaxed my boundaries. This is something that I will work on. My mother is going back on an information diet. I will restate our boundaries about the birth and bringing baby home. I will make sure my husband is with me and that we make it clear that we are holding firm this time. She already is aware that my husband is the only person allowed in the room and that baby girl's arrival is going to be our news. This is something that she has agreed to, but I'll make sure to let her know that there will be consequences, including limiting access to baby as much as possible. I regret letting myself be walked over to this point, and realize how much I just reinforced that if she pushes, it'll crumble. Edit 2. Alive with my mother. I've partially explained the situation in a comment. But it's not as simple as just moving out. It takes time and money to things we are working on. I also can't kick her out. This is her house. I still have to be respectful since she's been kind enough to let us stay. For the time being, the best I can do is put her back on the info diet and install the lock my husband is picking up when we get paid. Once again, I will reiterate that she will have as limited contact with my daughter as she can possibly have if she continues to disregard my boundaries and requests. She also will not be in the delivery room. My husband and hospital staff will know this. It has already been agreed on. She also knows that we are to be the first ones to announce that she's been born. Yes, there will be consequences for breaking that agreement. I have learned my lesson. Stories number 34. What can I to ADF do about my lazy fiance 29M who won't keep a job? My fiance just lost his job yesterday. They fired him for attendance issues. He did miss a lot of work. He wouldn't go at least once a week. This is the fourth job he's either lost or just didn't go back to because he was unhappy. He doesn't have his high school diploma or GED. He only can work unskilled jobs. He tells me he wants all these things and to be able to financially support me. But his actions don't match. We had a huge fight last night because after supporting him through grieving the loss of a job he actually liked, I became stressed. Because the financial burden is back on me. I make over $85K a year, have my college degree. I can take care of all our bills. I don't want to. I've supported myself and him throughout the almost 2 years being together hoping something would change. I kind of hold some resentment towards him because when we first started dating, he told me he was an electrician and he had done trade school. Turns out, after months of dating, I find out he was only a helper and he never went to electrician school. But by then I had love for him. He's not dumb. He's just lazy and unmotivated. I think I've made things feel so safe financially for him. He's behaving as a kept wife than a man. We just got into another argument today because instead of practice for his GED and looking for a new job, he's outside talking to his buddies. I'm sick of this. I don't mind helping someone who's trying to improve themselves, but he's not even trying. This isn't the first time we've had this conversation. I'm starting to feel more like his mom and wallet than his fiancé. He's taking advantage of my kind heart. I love him, but it's causing me financial issues at this point. I can hardly enjoy what I work so hard for because of having to take care of a grown man. What should Ito? TLDR. We just got engaged in April, but I'm thinking we won't make it to the altar due to finances and overall lack of desire to do better. Stories number 35. I 24F would like to get married, but my boyfriend 24M does not. How do I navigate this? My boyfriend and I have been together for 8 years. We met and started dating in high school. We are each other's first everything. Up until these past few years, marriage and children were things we both definitely wanted to avoid. Especially since we started dating when we were both so young. Now that we've reached our mid-20s and I recently graduated college, I feel ready for a deeper commitment and I would love to get engaged sometime soon. However, he is not. We've had a million conversations about this and they've all ended up pretty much at the same spot. He is not ready for marriage anytime soon. He doesn't know if wants kids at all, but he loves me a lot. I know I want to start having kids around 30. I'm grateful he's been very honest with me about this, but I feel so stuck on what to do. Our relationship is in such a good spot outside of this, so I don't want to leave him and end up regretting it down the line. But, at the same time, I am hurt that he doesn't want to commit to me in this way and I don't want to reach my 30s and be with someone who doesn't want to have kids with me. Do I give him a few years to see if he changes his mind? Do I set an ultimatum? Should I change how I value marriage? Stories number 35. I 29F crushed my 28 meters husband's feelings. What do Ito, my 29F husband 28 meters decided to try out stand-up comedy and open mic night. I was so excited because he's hilarious. I asked him if he wanted to practice with me, but he said no, he wanted it to be a surprise. So I finally got to watch him perform the other night. His delivery was great, he's got good stage presence and just getting up there at all takes a lot of courage. But his material. It was one extended dick joke. Some members of the audience loved it. They were in the minority. Most of the audience looked uncomfortable and slightly appalled. After his performance, as we were walking home, he asked me, "Did you like it?" And I said I didn't like his material because it was basically one big dick joke. I then said that he had great stage presence and I think this could be the start of something awesome if he worked on his material. He got upset and said that I was a buzzkill. He said that everyone was laughing besides me, and I pointed out that they weren't, not even the majority of the crowd was. He's really upset with me. He says he was really nervous about doing it and was just proud of having done it, but I made him feel ashamed. He's unhappy now and says there's nothing I can do to fix it. I told him that I was sorry for being too critical. I've been performing since I was 5 and my mom never gave me praise, only constructive criticism. So I grew up thinking that caring about someone and telling them how they could improve. I should have told him how proud I was first before I told him what I didn't like. He says I've ruined his debut performance, and nothing will change that. Is there anything I can do? I told him I would work on being less critical, but he says it doesn't fix anything that already happened. Do I just have to accept he's going to be mad at me for the next however long? Stories number 36. My 22M to 2F went to nail salon to get their new nails done. Everything seems cool till she says that the nails will take extra 2 to 3 minimum to make. Can these appointments really take that long? So I'm working today and my GF went to do her nails. I knew a thing or two about nails because I had a big sister growing up who did nails as a side hustle. The day went as it should, but then she said that the nails will take 2 to 3 extra hours to make minimum. The original appointment was 3 to 4 hours. Dealer, it's really hard to tell, but I've never heard simple nails being done this long. Could there be untold secrets from my GF, or maybe the nail salon is just bad? Or maybe there is something else I should know. Stories number 37. I 18 F1 my ex 19 M back. How do I get him to trust me again, and is there any chance of him coming back? I really need help. For context, me and my boyfriend of 1 year and 10 months broke up a little over a week ago. He dumped me because he wasn't happy anymore, which was IMO complicated. Because that sentence was followed by "but when I'm with you I am happy." But it's the pointless arguments that make him want to leave. He already dumped me once last November, but he came back on the same night. The reason was the same. He couldn't take my raging over the smallest things. We had a really great relationship apart from those unnecessary fights and my very bad jealousy. We were each other's best friends just as much as lovers. We did everything together and we could be 100% real with each other. We had the same humor, same love language and, overall, really matching personalities. We saw each other every single day and we truly enjoy each other's companies. The day that he left me he said that he doesn't want to take the risk and doesn't trust my promises, and I say I will change. I have promised that a few times, but never really could keep them because of my own mental issues, which made it really hard. I have improved though, but clearly not enough. We are a little bit toxic, and we have had problems in the past, him not staying loyal, etc. But I still never wanted to leave him. But this time, I suppose he's being for real about the breakup, and it's killing me. I feel so depressed and don't know how to survive from this. I have cried for 11 days straight and have tried to contact him about rethinking this a mistake. I know. He's being really dry and responds only like 2 to 3 times a day. He keeps me on delivered 4 to 18 hours while going online and responding to everyone else. He still hasn't deleted our posts from his social media, but he's already contacted former girls I have had problems with during our relationship. But a couple of days ago, he still said that he loves me and misses me as well. All of his stuff is still at my place and all of mine at his. More than anything I want him back, so do you think there is any way of him coming back anymore, and if so, how can I get him to trust me again? This time I am truly ready to change, because even though we are still very young, I know he's the man I want to marry. I love him more than anything in this world. I really hope to get some advice and thank you in advance for any help.